So be open to other people's ideas, be open to new perspectives, and eventually, as you continue to talk to people, you will find that your perspective shifts and ebbs, and that you have a broader perspective. And then once you get that broader perspective, you feel more secure and in control. You feel like you can communicate well, and you can pretty much talk to anybody, be friends with anybody, and get whatever it is that you need, and therefore can take care of yourself no matter what happens. Hello everybody and welcome. Today I wanted to talk about control. So, control is one of the concepts that has come up in reality transurfing as well. And I know that I've been talking a lot about reality transurfing lately, but that's because I've been studying it every day for a week or so or more. I don't know. I kind of lose track of time easily. So, when it comes to control, one of the things that this author discusses is that control is actually the force that is behind survival instinct, as well as pretty much any other aspect of life, where even these most primal instincts that we have are actually a ploy to assert control over an uncontrollable life. Which is kind of an interesting concept, and one that I enjoy considering because I think it might be true. But even if it's not, it does help you grasp a little bit better human nature and, why it is that we do the things that we do. If it all comes down to control, then that means that the people who feel the need to assert control are essentially feeling more out of control. I mean, this is a concept that I've discussed a lot, where if you are trying to assert control over life, it's because you're feeling out of control over your own life, like you're trying to control somebody else so that your life feels less chaotic and all these other things. And that if you have a strong sense of self, if you're feeling secure, there is absolutely no need to assert control over anybody or anything else, because you feel more than enough challenge exists within your own life and figuring out what it is that you want and allowing yourself to have it. And that's kind of where this whole reality transurfing thing is interesting, because what he's trying to teach, I think, to a certain extent, is this concept of allowing yourself to have the things that you want so that you no longer need to assert control. You can just play. You can just have fun. And even playing is really a manner in which we assert control over life, because we're kind of creating a scenario within our own head and then living it out through play. And that's what we all did as kids. And he even suggests that we do that as adults through work. That's what a job is. It's play by another name, and in an adult world. And a lot of us take work very, very seriously. I tend to not be one of those people. I don't tend to view my job as particularly important or valuable, which is probably the reason why it's challenging for me to stay at a 9-to-5 job. But I do know that a lot of people define themselves by their work and define themselves by their job, so it's not shocking that they're going to view that as super important, because it's essentially their mechanism for finding worth. So I can't fault them for that. I can say that I am not them, and sometimes I wish that I were, because I think life would be easier, but honestly, who's to say who's got it right, who's to say it's got it wrong? I do know that one of the most interesting things that I've discovered is that my need for control is significantly less than other people's. And I think the main reason this is because I have one very fundamentally different perspective than pretty much everybody else. And that is, when I look at the world, I see two different things and use the word and. Whereas most people are going to see two different options and use the word or. So, for example, something is either true or false. But in my head, I have always lived in kind of a gray area, so for me it's true and false. And this may not seem like a big difference to you, but if you're a computer programmer, you can kind of understand where I'm coming from here, where the and can make a huge difference. And when the world is both true and false, there is no limit to possibility. There's no limit to potential, Everything is possible, everything is potentially true, and everything is potentially false. So therefore, it's next to impossible to actually say, yes, I know the answer, yes, I know what's true, yes, I can give you the solution that you need, because in reality, the solution may not be something I've thought of, may not be something that anybody else has thought of, could work for you and may not work for anybody else. I mean, it's entirely possible that your journey is 100% unique and none of us have ever thought about anything that you're going to go through in your lifetime before. So for me, this is fun because I'm like, hey, that's cool. You know, you have seen possibilities far beyond what I can possibly imagine, and now I want to study and learn from you because, oh my gosh, that's a perspective I've never heard of before, and I would like to integrate more of that understanding into my own life and into my own mind and my own logic and reasoning capabilities. The fun in life for me is to find these alternate perspectives and to expand my own consciousness, to expand my own awareness and broaden my perspective. So I've found that for me it's very beneficial to use this word and, saying that things are both true and false. So when I go into conversation with somebody else and we have a fundamental disagreement in perspective, I can say, okay, I think there is some validity in what you're saying. Here's what I have to say. Whereas the majority of people I go into conversation with say, this is what I believe, and then I disagree with them, and then they belittle me saying, oh, you're too young, you don't have enough experience, you're just a girl, I mean, you know, whatever belittling comment they want to say. And I find myself going, well, that was a waste of time. You know, like, we didn't get anywhere with that conversation. It basically ended with that comment, and neither of us grew because the conversation didn't go anywhere. They might not feel like they're losing out because they've been taught all their lives that they need to defend and protect their belief structures, whereas I didn't have that kind of solid foundation belief structure for very long. I've gone through various levels of deconstructing and reconstructing my belief system, so it's kind of natural now for me to question whatever it is that comes into my life and see, is this true? How true is it? To what degree and what extent? In which situations is it true? And in which situations is it not? And because of that perspective, I then can kind of take every piece of information and integrate it somewhat into my own understanding, into my own life and into my own brain, where, you know, I find this new, broader perspective, and I'm just like, oh, thank you so much for that contradictory conversation, because now it's helped me become an even greater, more understanding individual, which is a lot of fun for me. So this fundamental difference, the and versus the or, is very much a part of what makes me me, I think. What makes me unique as an individual. It's entirely possible that, you know, I'm more than likely, I'm not the only person that's like this, and this is something that's learned, but it has very much shaped the way in which I live my life from here on out, more than likely, and has been a factor in my life for a really long time. So, because I have this and, though, my need for control is essentially non-existent because I thrill in the chaos. I thrill in the unknown. And that's not 100% true, because there are aspects of my life where I do want some structure, some security, some comfort, things like this. But none of these concepts are my primary driver. My primary driver is freedom and understanding. So I would much rather live in a car and talk to random people on the street than work in a 9-to-5 job, come home and veg out because I cannot stand my life and, you know, don't have the energy to do anything else anymore. My dad, for example, has told me that I should go out and get a job that pays really well because I have the mental capacity and the education that would allow me to do so. And that I should work for 30 years, you know, get a house, get married, have kids, things like this. And I'm like, you know, I enjoy the concepts that you present there, but the mechanism at which I would have to commit myself to in your eyes is something that I would rather die than do. I would rather die than spend 30 years stuck in a job that I hate. And not many people agree with me here, which I think is really funny, because I'm like, how can you stand to do something you don't like? It's entirely possible that, if I found some work that I loved or something like this, if I ended up working at a 3D animation studio or whatever, or working as a writer or whatnot, it's possible that I would be willing to do that and not feel tied down. But honestly, getting a job, working for somebody else, and moving their dreams forward sounds horrible to me. I would much rather pursue my passion, pursue my interest, and explore and take on the challenges, because to me, the concept of being homeless is much less scary than the concept of being stuck in a job for 40 years. And as somebody who is 20, I have a lot of working life ahead of me if I decide to go down that path. So, I have pretty much embraced chaos in my life, and that's going to scare a lot of people. It's not comfortable to be in chaos. It's not comfortable, it's not safe, it's not secure, and yet I feel much safer and much more secure than I ever did before, because while I know that I cannot know what tomorrow holds, I do know that I can handle it. And that's a kind of freedom that very few people, I think, experience, where you know so well that you can handle whatever comes your way that it doesn't even bug you to think about what might happen, because you're like, you know what, no matter what, I'll get through it. So, I don't know if you guys are interested in releasing your control of the world and being in kind of this freer state that I live in. Maybe that has no interest to you. But if it does, I definitely encourage you to stop associating yourself with your belief structures and to stop claiming your beliefs as you. View your beliefs as something that you have created through time, but it's like a piece of art that you should constantly alter as new information and new ideas come into being. So be open to other people's ideas, be open to new perspectives, and eventually, as you continue to talk to people, you will find that your perspective shifts and ebbs, and that you have a broader perspective, and then once you get that broader perspective, you feel more secure and in control. You feel like you can communicate well, and you can pretty much talk to anybody, be friends with anybody, and get whatever it is that you need, and therefore can take care of yourself no matter what happens. So, become the and rather than the or, and control will become a less important aspect of your life, giving you the freedom to pursue the things that really matter to you. That's what's worked for me anyway. So, if that's of interest to you, definitely try doing these kinds of things. If it's not, that's cool. Maybe you find this video interesting anyway, just because it gives you an alternate perspective from your own, and you like that I'm a weirdo who has interesting perspectives. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But if you did like this video, make sure to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when new videos are posted. And if you are willing to support me on Patreon, that would be awesome. I am always looking for supporters who can help me create the life and world that I want in my life, and therefore can also learn from me and do the same in their own lives, whatever the case may be. So head on over to Patreon if you're willing and support me there. And finally, if you have any comments, questions, future video ideas, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I will do my best to respond appropriately. So, thanks for watching. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.